MAGA Republicans are at it again, altering evidence during congressional hearings to try to attack witnesses as part of whatever their agenda is. So here's what went down this past week. The MAGA Republicans held a Doge committee hearing where they subpoenaed the head of United States fencing, like the sport fencing, because the MAGA Republicans saw some story on Fox about a transgender fencer. So they wanted to go and attack the head of USA Fencing, even though they received zero federal funding. So here's what went down. The MAGA Republicans were trying to pretend that the head of USA Fencing, who received all of these death threats as a result of the doxing from Fox and the MAGA Republicans, that he was giving the middle finger in a selfie like F you America. And he was actually holding up two fingers. But what the MAGA Republicans did in the photo was they cropped out one finger to make it look like he was giving the middle finger to the American people. Now, fortunately, Democratic Congresswoman Stansbury had the actual photo. She was ready to go, and she showed what the MAGA Republicans were doing here to lie, deceive, and defame this witness, the head of USA Fencing. It's like, why am I even here? Why are you attacking me? Here, play this clip.
I had already spent the money on competition fees and new equipment and spent hours training. I felt trapped. I had been defrauded of a women's tournament and sold a lie by USA Fencing.
Now, one big fight, Martha, has been over a picture of the chairman. Chairwoman Marjorie Taylor Greene actually brought it up during the hearing, and Democrats said this was a big misrepresentation. Watch this.
Mr. Lefelt came in here today saying that this is game day. You're right, Mr. Lefelt. This is game day.
The document that you have up behind you is a misrepresentation of the actual post. It appears that you're trying to misrepresent a witness here.
One other thing that we should note about this guy who runs USA Fencing, he's received a ton of death threats because of things that I just showed you there, the altering of the evidence. And the MAGA Republicans would be like, look, he's trying to pursue a woke transgender agenda and fencing. And so he set his social media accounts to private because he was getting all of these death threats. Then after doxing and defaming him with altered evidence, the MAGA Republicans then attack him for making his social media private as a result of death threats. Watch this.
Right here for transparency. Let's go. Did you recently change your social media profile from public to private?
I did, sir.
Okay. Was that before or after you got wind that you might end up being here today?
That was around the time that I was receiving death threats and anti-Semitic messages.
Also happened to be right after you found out that you might be here, correct?
I can't recall, sir, specifically when I went private.
Yes, that is April 14th, and you did it after. So I'm going to give you another F, 2 counts for transparency.
Now, this is part of a broader pattern that we've been covering here at the MeidasTouch Network about MAGAs manipulating evidence. You'll recall when the MAGAs were so focused on trying to impeach Joe Biden, and they were doing Joe Biden crime family and all of that crap. They don't care at all that Donald Trump's actually doing all of the things they lied about with former President Biden. They would do things like this right here. They would take like portions of text messages between like Jim Biden, Joe's brother, and Hunter Biden, and they would show like a portion, but not the full context. Like here was a text message that they showed from Jim Biden, which says, "This can work. You need a safe harbor. I can work with you, Father, alone. We, as usual, just need several months of his help for this to work. Let's talk about it. It makes perfect sense to me. This is difficult to fully vet without talking. Will you please call me? We can develop a plan together. It can work. I'm going to try to call you again. Please answer. I can and I will. Crisis with Caroline. Same problem with P and New York Post. Dealing with it as we speak. She is okay. I believe I have it under control. I'll get back to you ASAP. But now, when you look at the actual message that was sent with Jim Biden, what it actually says is the following. I can work when I'm in New York City all day, every day, for the next 3 months from 8 to 12. But I can't pay alimony without dad or tuitions or for food and gas. Really, It's all gone. I can go make it up in 15 to 20 days, I'm sure. But he's basically made it clear that he's not paying alimony because mom made clear that she won't do it. Haley won't allow me to be at the house or lend me or pay me back any money. Ashley moves into mom's house after I told dad that I would move in there. That night, I told Dad I want to probably stay in the area, and specifically, I wanted to live by you and teach my course at Penn and maybe develop another one. So, if you can see right there, you can compare where they chopped it off. They made it seem like they were engaged in something nefarious, where it's actually Hunter Biden at a very vulnerable moment saying that, his dad, Joe Biden, who wasn't the president then. This was in December 29th of 2018, and it was when Trump was in office, was basically saying, Hunter, I can't help you with a lot of things. I can help you with some things to live, because Hunter was a drug addict at that time. And they were just trying to come up with a plan for a dad to help his son live. There was nothing nefarious going on. Had they showed the full context, then, it wouldn't have seemed nefarious. And they went from like chopping things off these MAGA Republicans in the prior congressional session to then doing this, like they just straight up used fake text messages, like completely bogus, false images that Hunter never even sent. And they try to make this like the centerpiece of what they were saying. And so like if you actually go through it, the screen grab images that were posted by the MAGA Republicans are not real and contain a myriad of issues. Both include a photo of Mr. Biden, not from 2017, but from the White House Easter egg roll in April 2022, long after the purported messages were sent. Both images portray the message in a blue bubble when WhatsApp messages are in green. One image superimposed the Chinese flag for the contact ID, when surely that was not how a text or contact was kept. And one message purports to be a screenshot with ellipsis of someone composing a text as in the Apple's iMessage, when that does not happen in WhatsApp. In short, the images you circulated online are complete fakes. Many media articles confirm the data purported to have come from the devices has been altered and manipulated. You or someone else did that again. I mean, if you did this in court, you would lose your bar license. But because the MAGA Republicans keep doing this stuff in Congress, they claim, oh, we get speech or debate clause immunity. Watch as AOC in the last congressional session called them out for doing it. Here, play this clip.
Earlier today, one of our colleagues, a gentleman from Florida, presented up on this screen something that appeared to be a screenshot of a text message containing or insinuating an explosive allegation. That screenshot of what appeared to be a text message was a fabricated image. It was a fabricated image. I don't know where it came from. I don't know if it was the staff of the committee, but it was not the actual direct screenshot from that phone. And in fact, I would like to submit to the committee the actual full context from the Ziegler affidavit number 1, exhibit 402, of the full text of that exchange. Do I have permission from the chair? Importantly, what was brought out from that fabricated image excluded critical context that changed the underlying meaning and allegation that was presented up on that screen by this committee and by members of this committee. Now, they are well within their right to do that because they are covered by the speech and debate clause. This was not submitted by a material or fact witness under oath. That was not submitted by a material or fact witness under oath.
Now, folks, this takes other forms as well, where MAGA Republicans will build entire pieces of legislation around completely fake areas to stir up culture wars and lies based on 100% fraudulent and false things. I want to give a shout out to a legislator in Texas. You've seen him on the MeidasTouch network before, James Tallarico. when he cross-examines this MAGA Texas legislator who built an entire piece of legislation in Texas around banning litter boxes from elementary schools when there are no litter boxes in elementary schools. And then the guy goes on and talks about banning like licking your fingers, which if you like licked your fingers from like eating Cheetos, like would you get prosecuted? I want you to see that they build everything. Everything is on fabrications. Watch the Democrat, the legislator, James Tallarico, cross-examine this MAGA legislator who introduced this legislation that's going to be law in Texas. Play this clip.
Can you name a school where it has been confirmed that students are using litter boxes?
Well, what we do with this bill is we prevent that from happening, but what we don't take out.
Can you name a school where it has been confirmed that students are using litter boxes? This was at the top of your press release. This was mentioned when you introduced this bill, created quite a stir. So I'm asking, can you name a school where it's been confirmed that there are litter boxes being provided to students?
For this purpose, no, I cannot.
Your tweet about this bill was flagged by the app itself under their community notes, and their fact check said sensationalist claims about furries literally behaving as animals and receiving accommodations such as litter boxes have been repeatedly debunked as hoaxes. Is that correct?
It was flagged on, community notes?
Okay. I find it concerning that these types of debunked conspiracy theories are being used by politicians at the highest levels of our government, including in this legislature, who know that they're incorrect. Are you aware that Governor Abbott said, quote, kids go to school dressed up as cats with litter boxes in their classrooms?
Sure.
Are you also aware that when the governor was asked by the Dallas Morning News to name a single school where this happened, he couldn't? And PolitiFact called this a pants on fire false claim started by online rumors.
Okay.
Do you think it's a good use of our time to write laws based on debunked internet conspiracy theories?
Well, this isn't, this piece of legislation before us covers that among other things that are true.
And then you have James Tallarico, again, cross-examining this guy who put forward the legislation and basically showing that, like, don't you have better things to do than, like, just make up fake things and try to criminalize, like, licking your fingers, and you're saying people are becoming cats. Like, what the hell are you doing here? Here, play this clip.
I want to ask you a few questions about the language of the bill. So your bill provides includes language that prohibits students from engaging in certain types of, quote, non-human behavior, which is defined as including, quote, licking oneself or others, end quote. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I am worried that there are developmentally normal behaviors, things that any child might do that could be punished under the language because it's so broad and unclear. So let's just use this example because there are actual monetary fines along with your bill. So this is not just a humorous thing. There are real consequences. If a student eats Cheetos and then licks the cheese dust off their fingers, would that be considered licking oneself?
Yeah, that's not a non-human behavior if you're licking your fingers because you got food on them. That's kind of in line with the normal behavior.
But you're defining non-human behavior as licking oneself or others.
If it's in this non-human behavior realm, the intent of the bill is if for licking oneself for the grooming purposes like a cat.
So who decides whether the licking is non-human behavior? Is that the Attorney General's job if your bill becomes law?
The local school districts come up with their plan.
But all there needs to be is one complaint, and the Attorney General, the top cop in the second largest state in the union, is now tasked with investigating that behavior. I mean, I would just hope that the Attorney General has better things to do than investigating licking or that kind of behavior among kids.
You know, but then you have the situation like when Kash Patel testified in Congress this past week, where he got mad at Senator Patty Murray after he didn't even show up with his actual budget, which you're supposed to show up and actually do your homework. But then he yells at the questioning. When they get cornered, when they know they're caught lying, what do? They go, I'm just not going to tolerate you anymore. I'm not going to tolerate you. Here, play this clip.
Placed on leave FBI employees responsible for the investigation of January 6th. That sounds political to me.
I have not placed anyone on leave who has not violated their ethical obligation or their oath to the Constitution.
So if they were investigating January 6th, you believe they were violating an ethical obligation?
Nope. I think the common theme here is you putting words in my mouth, and I'm not going to tolerate it, nor will the men and women of the FBI.
Well, you did place on leave an analyst responsible for investigating Russia's meddling in the 2016 election. Is that politicization? Is that retribution?
No, not if she broke the law or the ethical guidelines. I don't know which case you're talking about, but that's the standard. And we will hold ourselves inwardly accountable, and we will not be strayed from our mission because people think we are politicizing the Bureau. If you want to talk about someone who was attacked by a weaponized Bureau, you're looking at him. And now he's the director of the FBI and he's clean.
And finally, the messaging from Fox, though, and this is what I think is important to tie this all together. The messaging from state regime media known as Fox is basically, who cares about evidence? It doesn't matter. Just if you think people are bad, they don't need due process. You want to throw in jail if you're the regime. Here, watch this.
All due respect, this whole argument about these Venezuelan gang members or people who say they aren't in a gang, but they've got MS-13 in code on their knuckles. To say that, well, whatever it, okay, well, not everybody. You've also sat here and argued against using tattoos to say if someone's a member of MS-13. So anyone who has a tie to MS-13 or the government suspects of it, if you tell me that they deserve due process, I tell you that I know Laken Riley's dad, and I would go out and kick every one of them out of this country just because of Laken Riley. So when Frederica Wilson said something like more people are getting rolled up because of Laken Riley, you're damn right they are. Because this whole country saw what happened to Laken Riley. And we said, hell no.
Or if you try to actually make points, you can. And Marjorie Taylor Greene's now chairing the committees. She'll just bang her gavel over and over and over again. Here, play this clip.
And to the trans community, we stand with you, with the LGBTQ plus community. We stand with you, and you can raise my eardrums all you want, Madam Chair, but we stand with the LGBTQ plus community.